Welcome back to the Cannifornian Podcast. Today I'm joined by my guest host, Betty Blaze.
Hello, everyone.
And my producer, Danielle. On this episode, we have Ariana Newton, the community manager for the WeedTube. We're going to be talking to her about how the WeedTube got started and how they embrace cannabis content and marketing on their platform. Let's get into it. Yes, Ariana, community manager of the WeedTube. So tell us a little bit about that. What is a community manager, and maybe give us a little background on the WeedTube?
Yeah, absolutely. A community manager. So I basically do a little bit of everything. You know, I've walked the line of sales. I've walked the line of social media, and I really just found my passion was in the community and in the people and helping them share and navigate their stories. And with a new platform too, with the WeedTube and WeedTube as new as it is, you kind of need a liaison of sorts there to answer questions and just be there for the community. You know, we like to do town halls and different things to get people involved and kind of let them know what's going on behind the scenes. So I kind of help facilitate a lot of that stuff, which is really fun and rewarding in a lot of ways. Just as well as like having my own channel too, that I can kind of share my journey on. But WeedTube kind of got its start. You know, I wasn't with the original team when they created the whole idea of what WeedTube was going to be. But from what I understand, they were a group of creators that were deleted off of YouTube. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the quote unquote cannabis purge that YouTube went through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back in 2018, right?
Correct. Yeah, 2018. So there were hundreds of content creators that were getting deleted.
Yep.
And obviously, you know, social media back then, especially Instagram and some of these other platforms, they were not quite as strict with their rules and stuff like that. So when these creators were monetizing their platforms, they didn't see any need to like be worried about that, you know, like that was their living. And then obviously it kind of all just got swept away. So people had to get creative of like, how are we going to market to our audiences and also just keep our community together, because, you know, you get a page deleted. It's like, how does that community find you again?
Exactly.
Totally. And the amount of effort that it takes to create this community too. People don't realize, like, cannabis is one of these really interesting industries where the creators are really involved with one another, and it really is like a community. And I know that both of you could probably speak to that, Ariana and Betty. I mean, maybe I'm ignorant to some of these other creative communities, but it seems like there's truly a camaraderie, and it really is like a sense of community, which is awesome.
It is. I mean, I know personally, I've never felt a sense of community before, but maybe I've just never found my community either. But I've been super fortunate for the cannabis community that I have on the WeedTube and Instagram. But it is super discouraging when a platform gets taken down and you have to start over from scratch, which happens all the time in this industry.
I have a psych major, so I was really intrigued by people's stories and also just the effects of social media on mental health, and watching people, you know, lose that completely was, oh my gosh, just heart-wrenching.
No, and that's exactly what like Betty Blaze is about, is like cannabis and mental health, because they really go hand in hand. And I struggled with my own share of mental health issues, so I just want to be able to surround people in a community where they feel comforted and welcomed.
If you think about it, 2018, when they did the cannabis purge, like, I kind of remember like being in social media and working in social media, their terms and agreements weren't very clear. Like, it was a very cloudy area when you got to cannabis and CBD. And so it wasn't fair. They didn't really make it clear. And then all of a sudden they kind of just like kicked everybody off and took off like what they felt was their livelihood, you know?
Sure.
Exactly. And it's still not clear.
Yeah. And not aside from not being clear, who reads terms and agreements?
Honestly, though.
Honestly.
Well, if you're a cannabis,
if you're
cannabis content, you should.
You should. Yeah, that's true. If you're going to be creating some cannabis con, maybe you should. I feel like we kind of cut you off there, Ariana. Were you were about to say something?
No, you're good. Yeah, I was just diving into the whole cannabis purge part, but you know, kind of WeedTube itself evolved into something bigger than that. It stemmed from these creators getting deleted and kind of needing a safe space to share that content, especially that long form content that can, you know, you can really dive into some of that educational piece, but also just really having fun and seshing along with a friend and getting to know someone. But it really evolved into this whole international now community of like cannabis consumers that are fighting censorship like on all sorts of unique fronts, and just they want to share their journey with the cannabis plant and like help educate along their own way. Like I keep saying, I feel like everyone's just like their own little unique case study. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. Own individual little case study.
Exactly.
What are some?
Well, you've got all these cool apps now that are coming out, and it's like you can document everything about what you're buying and what you're consuming and how you're feeling, and it's like, oh my gosh, a whole journal.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. You really can vet out your products and get that information that you need. That's kind of like a repeating theme here on this podcast is how people are receiving the information and how they're getting educated about cannabis. Because for the longest time, we didn't have any platforms or really mediums to learn about these things. And something like the WeedTube provides that opportunity. Not only that, it gives people the opportunity to market goods as well, which is also super unique.
Yes, the advertising space of it is so cool. I mean, I hear so many people, they're like, it's so unique to see like an actual cannabis commercial. And it really helps those people that are trying to grow that industry and push that creative scope, being able to have a space to just do it and not have to worry about if there's like bud in the imagery or, if there's like a certain thing that's got to get cut out because of all of just like the different rules on different networks. Like it can get so tedious and it gets draining, honestly.
Oh, I bet. I mean, when I first saw that you guys had cannabis commercials, I was like, oh, 100%. This is definitely a weed site. That's so cool. And if I'm watching a commercial, I'm not going to be mad if it's about weed. Like I'm going to be like less, like irritated.
Yeah. And Ariana, when you and I were connected, I think that I'm pretty sure I was very vocal about how cool I thought the WeedTube was. And just because of that aspect too, you guys are giving companies and businesses, cannabis businesses and CBD businesses a space to advertise their products, which is really hard to do on, like you were saying, like on Facebook or Instagram or other platforms with all of these regulations. Like this is a really huge kind of breakthrough in like the industry, I guess.
Yeah, it fills that gap. And that was kind of another thing that happened just naturally along the way as well, as they were trying to figure out how to keep the platform sustainable for everyone. Streaming video content isn't cheap, but it's definitely worth it to, have a good platform that's not buffering in a bunch of countries and not, some of these other apps. I feel like you just kind of wait forever. And sometimes that can happen with YouTube too. I'm not going to like say it's perfect or anything like that.
Sure.
They
Still in the
do
beginning
try really hard to make sure that you can actually access the content, which I feel like is such a huge barrier still. But yeah, it's so unique how things have kind of spiraled as the years have gone on, and they've been able to just drive different initiatives.
That is very cool. And I mean, I'm sure they're going to work it out as things move along here. And get that figured out. Just the fact that you're streaming cannabis content in multiple countries is unbelievable to begin with. I'm kind of curious about that. What kind of content are you seeing and where is it coming from? I know maybe people are familiar with what's going on here in the States, but maybe not as familiar with kind of like the cannabis communities and content that's being created in other countries, which is something that it's not really in our scope.
Yeah, but we're always trying to find more information out, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's kind of unique, actually. We just had a gal upload a video. She moved recently from Brazil up to Vancouver, I believe it was, and she just did a video in English and Portuguese, kind of bridging that gap of the community, because WeedTube is still working on its like language features and kind of personalizing pages based off where you're like located geographically. But we have a huge audience here in the U.S., obviously, in Canada, and a growing audience down there in Brazil. But Spain and Australia and like the UK also have these growing audiences. It's interesting to kind of see, obviously, where there's like a little bit, I don't know, we definitely aren't, we're not going to mess with Russia or anything like that because they're so anti-cannabis.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's growing worldwide, but the biggest audiences for sure are still here at home in America, in Canada. And then down there in South America as well, and growing over there in Spain and the UK too.
It'd be interesting to see once this becomes a global market, how this is all going to tie together. Are you seeing differences? What kind of content are you seeing on the site right now?
It's varying. I personally engage with a lot of the just personalized content. People are on there sharing their story, like why I smoke, why I consume, what I consume, how it helps me. I follow a lot of canna moms that are on there sharing their journeys and stuff like that. I think that's super unique. But you see a lot of different just artistic and creative people on here sharing that side of their unique perspective as well. So you get that educational piece. We've got like Trichomes. They upload amazing content that just covers like cannabis news and things like that. to profiles that are like, Mac Dizzle 420, who's like a cannabis influencer and icon over in LA. So you kind of get the journey and dynamic of everyone on the scope, if that makes sense.
No, definitely. I mean, one of the things that I love about the WeedTube is when I first tried to learn to roll a joint, I went onto the WeedTube and I was like, how do you roll a joint? And I watched a video and I kid you not, and I got it down the first time and I was like, that was all it took. But there's just so much information on there. I know myself, I have a WeedTube account, Betty Blaze, but I just talk about, terpenes. I'll do reviews, I'll do education. I've even tapped into CBD too, just because I feel like more knowledge should be there for CBD right now. So
yes, Betty, I'm slay Betty. Keep going, Betty.
Yes, girl.
I think it's fun too that you learned how to roll your first joint on there, because I feel like I was that way as well. I'd never taken a dab before I moved to Colorado, and having like WeedTube and people that were like, okay, don't take it red hot, because like no one was talking about that.
I definitely
Why
learned trial and error.
Talking about this?
No, exactly. When I found the WeedTube, I knew I wanted to get into cannabis, but I didn't really know how and like in what form. But then I found the WeedTube when I was just doing research online. And I was like, wow, there are people doing it. They're making it happen. And this is a community. And that's actually, I think, kind of what like made me like, okay, I can do this and I need to do this. I'm waiting on TikTok still.
Oh, dude. Well, TikTok
they're game changing, but they are so up and down with what you can post and if they're going to approve something one day and not the other.
TikTok's out of China though, right?
Oh, they have a place in America.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I think they might have had to team up with somebody in America. I'm not exactly sure how all of that went.
Like
I should know a little bit more, but I think they did have to establish themselves in the U.S. at some point,
right.
And they did. But also they are trying to like still figure out their platform. They don't really have that many analytics that you can go off of. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like hopefully by the time that they're kind of getting their stuff together, the cannabis industry is a little bit less stigmatized and they can kind of work together in that way. That'd be cool.
That would be really cool.
What's up with TikTok? Why does everybody have like 60 million views on everything?
I don't know. I'm just really impressed like with the amount of people who can see and like access your videos when you post it. There's a large community on TikTok. And that's what's so frustrating is because you can post a cannabis video that doesn't show cannabis, doesn't even have any hashtags, doesn't even have a caption, and it can get taken down, or it can get 50,000 views.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a big squad for reviewing, which brings me to our next point is how are you guys reviewing the content, and is there any sort of gatekeeping that you do as far as what's able to go up onto the website and what people are able to post?
Okay, perfect. I'm glad it cut back in. I don't know how long I've been cut out, but I did miss most of that. I just got your question, so that's perfect. We can hop back. But sorry if I ignored anything prior.
Oh no, we went on a TikTok tangent.
Yeah,
that was perfect.
Oh, good. TikTok is huge. TikTok is huge. I would have loved to have been in that. No worries. I will loop back later. No.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, maybe she's never used it. She's not like commenting in.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No. TikTok is iconic, for lack of a better term. I'm just using that because that's what the kids say. In terms of like, you can have no following. You can go from having like no following to just a huge following, or just a group of people that are interested in you. And I feel like TikTok also, people uniquely are able to share their stories or just their quick bits, things like that.
Yeah.
That normally you just wouldn't get from a person behind the scenes or in long form content and stuff like that. But TikTok is a unique sphere. They've got a lot of work to do. They definitely have pissed off the cannabis community in their own way, but I think people have found their unique ways around that, just with, their own content. You don't have to always include the cannabis plant in the content. I mean, people know you're high.
That's valid. That's valid.
Fair.
That's actually kind of what our point was, is such a huge platform, and yet they're able to so effectively moderate their content. And I wanted to know like how you guys moderate your content, kind of tie that back in.
Yeah. No, okay, yeah, perfect. I was like, honestly, that's the thing. When you said gatekeeping, we don't really gatekeep a lot of content. The biggest thing is just like no porn, no nudity. That's one of the biggest things that we see and get reported in for. Like,
Gotcha.
If we always encourage the community, if they see something before our team does, to send it in and report it. Obviously, like that, we don't get a whole lot of that. there's a smaller number of video uploads compared to like YouTube or something like that.
Right.
It is definitely something to keep our eye out for. And, as it grows internationally too, it has been like become a bigger and bigger problem. So it is definitely something we're combating. Luckily, the site is, 21 plus, so there shouldn't be any adolescent eyes lurking, but there really hasn't been too much of an issue with that yet. But it is something I know the team considers. But yeah, there's not a lot of gatekeeping in terms of, content. There's just so much unique content, and with the categories, I guess, kind of laid out is how they would like divvy it up. So, they have 23 different categories on the site, and it's growing, of course.
Right.
I'm still advocating for that art category.
Yes.
But that's kind of a good way that they have that broken up right now. I know they're looking for other ways to kind of organize the content, if that makes sense. I was talking to Betty about that earlier this week, but does that kind of answer that?
No, yeah, absolutely. Just kind of curious about how the moderation happens. I'm surprised that there isn't like a nudity weed site yet, right? That seems like the next craze. Like there's the OnlyFans, and now we got
Only
things
grams.
like the Only Grams, or Only Dabs or something.
Yeah.
And then all of your Brazilian creators can take dabs and twerk at the same time.
Perfect.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, hey, whatever pays the bills. But yeah, I feel like OnlyFans kind of has taken over that just a smidge. They advocate and they kind of market. I don't know if you pay attention to OnlyFans marketing at all or not, but they market to pretty much celebrities and influencers saying like, hey, monetize your audience. But obviously most of the platform is being used by sex workers and professionals that are like in that industry. So it's interesting to see the lack of support there on OnlyFans side.
Yeah,
that is interesting actually.
I know.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking, well, originally when I wanted to get in cannabis, I thought about OnlyFans, not for nudity, but just for a site to have smoke sessions with people. And like, I could make it like themed and like do something fun like that. But then I was also thinking no one has done this yet. This is hard. I'm going to get a lot of backlash from everybody in my life thinking I'm on OnlyFans. Like, and I know I'm going to get a lot of people following me for that too. So it was, and then when I thought about it, I was like, I also don't have any fans at that time. So I was like, I don't know who's going to come on here.
But you know what? Kudos to cannabis content creators, because you have to get really like, you not only are like working against like the clock trying to stay current, but also you're working against the platforms trying to make sure that what you're posting is okay. So you guys are really getting creative with the content you're posting. You have like, you guys got haters and you're working with the haters. You're working around the haters.
We do, but the cannabis helps with that for sure.
Absolutely. I was going to say too, Betty, obviously Twitch and Patreon, potential ways you can monetize as well. But it's always interesting to kind of see how each individual platform works. You know what I mean? Some of them come and go so quickly, but I think those two are here to stay.
Exactly. And now there's Clubhouse too. I don't think you can get monetized yet, but it sounds like it's going to be in the future.
Well, I don't know if we can, but I do know they did their beta testing. They are running their payments through Stripe. Do you know Stripe?
No, I don't.
It's a payment platform, basically. But it's interesting because they are anti-cannabis. Typically, I recommend that anyone that's using Stripe kind of disguise your business because you might lose your money there.
Did not
but
know that. Okay,
they're monetizing through Stripe, so that's kind of an interesting battle for the cannabis community. Maybe we'll see. We're kind of waiting it out, right? It's all still so new.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now I'm like, I don't know if I want to do Clubhouse now. Like, I don't want to work with somebody who's like anti what I love and what I'm working for.
Well, but I don't know if Clubhouse knows that Stripe is anti that. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's also true. It's also true.
And I wonder what the terms are there. I'm wondering if it's actual sales of cannabis products or is it anything cannabis related? Like if it's cannabis content. I mean, it's just content, right? It's not actually physical cannabis product.
We'll have to read the terms and agreements.
I think it would be both through Stripe. It really depends on how you set up your business account. So as long as you don't have anything incriminating in your name, I have a feeling they're not going to come after you, especially with just Clubhouse in general, because people are only tipping you, right? Like tipping you for your time. It's not, you're not really getting any sort of exchange or product there. So that's a plus. I can see.
Yeah,
Ariana, I know earlier this week, how Clubhouse, you can go live and you talk to your followers and your fans that way. You were saying that you can't do that right now on WeedTube, but you guys are hoping to be able to in the future?
Yeah, WeedTube is hoping to expand in kind of all sorts of avenues. I feel like everything has been dreamt up by the community, and now it's just a matter of continuing to execute on what can be executed on. But live streaming has definitely always been something that they've wanted to get implemented, and hopefully, I'm hoping this year we'll have implemented. And I feel like that would be a huge relief for a lot of creators to just be able to have that option, because like you said, a lot of people just want to go live and have a smoke sesh and talk to their friends and followers.
Exactly. I would definitely pick the WeedTube over these other platforms if that was the case, so I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. I can't wait. We'll be all over that.
Yeah.
So Ariana, I know that, kind of tying it back to like this whole social media thing, I know algorithms are super huge on like Instagram, Facebook. Every social media platform has algorithms, and it kind of like frustrates people but also keeps like the platform going. Do you guys have any sort of algorithms that you use to place content on the site, on the homepage? Like, how do you kind of like navigate or like kind of funnel through that content?
Yeah, I think the content is just auto-populated based off of the categories. There's a featured section that they obviously navigate. I think there's like 3 featured videos on there now after they did the update. It used to be 4, but I kind of like the look of the new one. You can let me know later. You can email them with your thoughts. But
okay. That's so funny.
But yeah, they're trying out all sorts of different things just to keep it relevant, keep it fun, keep it updated. But in terms of like search functionality and things like that, I know they're upgrading and integrating like an Algolia search function. Sorry, that's not like my strong suit at all.
Okay.
But I know that they're trying to get some of that stuff integrated, so we'll have better SEO with Google and a lot of these other platforms to pop up and populate in their spaces as well. So I think all that stuff is in the works. But yeah, as far as just like the homepage and the featured section, a lot of it is just auto populated based off of how you categorize your video. When you go to upload your video, you can add a certain amount of tags and then choose like a category, and that's kind of how that works. So it's very rudimentary in terms of compared to like a lot of other sites and probably how involved they have it. But it definitely does the trick for now.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
And it helps the content get seen by people.
Exactly. I've been on the featured page before, and I've thought to myself, I'm like, how did that happen? I'm like, were they just nice to me, or did they like my video?
Yeah, what about
like,
this
are a lot
one?
of people watching it?
No,
yeah,
it's
like how
you.
did it happen?
It's you. Yeah, you brought in the the audience from your other platforms. That's another big thing, is obviously bringing in people from other platforms and helping kind of navigate that audience. There's a lot of people that do YouTube and WeedTube, and they kind of just share their non-weedy stuff on YouTube, and then they do their weedy stuff on WeedTube. So I think that's a really clever way to kind of play with both audiences and drag them around a little bit.
True.
Not drag them around, but bring them around to the different platforms.
And speaking of bringing other people from other platforms onto your platform, how do you see the future of the WeedTube, and what are kind of the plans to retain these users and move forward? Like, how do you see it moving forward in the future?
Yeah, I see them just, streamlining their technology, adding features that can, enable community on the site. They don't have any sort of text features or, direct messaging features, the live streaming features, things like that can really enable community on the platform itself. Right now, a lot of people kind of go outside of the platform to engage there, and I think that bringing that onto the platform is going to be huge
Yes.
and in terms of keeping people on the platform and keeping their communities on the platform. But also, too, just as the tech gets better, the content will get better, the amount of people uploading will get better, we'll have bigger creators that will be able to drive that traffic over because they'll be able to receive that traffic too. So I think it will just all kind of spitball on itself in some ways like that. But really, yeah, just, obviously getting out here, talking on podcasts, spreading the word that way organically and naturally, especially since everything has kind of been shut down. Things are kind of coming back, but slowly and surely, and also not necessarily needed all the time, right? But yeah, I think things like this are great, being able to just sit down and talk about it a little bit and have it grow organically that way, I think is the biggest way it's going to thrive.
No, definitely. I think word of mouth and just getting the word out and educating people. And I feel like the more we talk about it and normalize it, it's just going to get easier. So I loved this.
Yeah, this is cool. And I agree. Once you can start messaging people on there, that's what I love about like Instagram, for example. there's tons of people that I only interact with on Instagram. I would imagine that like once I have my WeedTube DM feature, like I'm gonna have my weed buddies, and that's where we're gonna interact. Maybe we don't have each other's phone number, maybe we're separated by some distance, but we still have this platform in order to communicate. And we already know that we have a common interest because we're on this platform.
Exactly. Most of my friends are cannabis influencers. I met Ariana on Instagram. I mean, we were following each other on Instagram already.
Yes, we were. I'm so happy about that too.
Yeah.
I do remember watching your videos and just thinking, yes, please keep talking about CBD this way, because I definitely have been learning more about it and integrating it into my life and my schedule. And, the whole entourage effect with the plant is so real, and we don't talk about it enough. I certainly don't, because I didn't know enough. I know a little more now, so I feel a little better, but people don't want to talk about it if they don't know, and that's not really what's being showcased to the larger audiences. So it's kind of battling that a little bit, but we'll get there.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm sure it's going to funnel in as time progresses. People want to know. That's why things like this exist. That's like why the Cannifornian exists, in order to educate the public. We really do need these mediums, and it's only a matter of time before the WeedTube starts introducing these people as well. Not introducing, but people start coming onto these platforms and really expressing.
Exactly, because they're gonna find it and they're gonna be like, this is what I've been looking for, like I have and so many other people have. Like, it's just like such a good community and a launching off point.
Right. And I mean, I appreciate it too, because I started my journey after everyone had kind of been deleted. So it was, seeing that and seeing what they'd been through, it gave me hope, knowing that I would never have to like worry about that. And it's had its battles back and forth, you know what I mean? Nothing's been perfect, but I've never ever had to like worry about my content just disappearing or like having to backlog it or anything like that. And that has just been such a relief to me over the years.
I bet. I still am worried on Instagram. I'm always like, oh, I hope my account doesn't get deleted tomorrow for some random reason. It's this fear, and I know I'm going to restart the whole thing, but I really don't want to.
Well, if you have enough money, if you have enough money and the right contacts, I'm sure you could get through. But that's the problem with some of these social platforms, is it's all just about the money to a certain extent. It's like, oh no, again.
Yeah, sad but true.
But for now, we make backups to our backup pages.
Exactly.
Just in case.
Hopefully in the future there's more, platforms, or maybe just the platforms that we have now are a little bit more, I don't know, forgiving, understanding, welcoming of, cannabis and CBD marketing and content too. Because, I mean, when a platform starts, you think, they want to be that platform. They want to be the place where they start off with humble beginnings. They want people to come and use the platform for, creative capabilities and everything. And they're really kind of, I mean, I don't know how to say it, but they're keeping people from saying, like, regardless if you need to, like, market as like for children or for not for children, you're keeping people from understanding what's real about the cannabis industry. You're hiding real experiences. And so I think that, like, when people do start to see cannabis advertisements, it's going to be like, oh wow, so cannabis isn't like this scary evil thing.
They make it seem so taboo.
Well, down there in California, you guys have giant billboards. I mean, Colorado too.
We're very lucky.
The advertising and marketing for the space is just so different. I mean, I can't imagine seeing like a CBD billboard up here in Montana. I mean, it probably would happen eventually, but not something that I've ever seen. And I mean, coming to like Colorado and California, and then just having giant, or Las Vegas even is really the most recent one I'm thinking of. Just all of the different cannabis dispensaries advertising on these huge billboards. And I'm like, wow, what a game changer for just education, but also just exposure too, for those companies in particular.
Oh yeah. Some of them are real out there. I was driving down the 5 freeway going into LA, and I saw one, and it was like a tie-dye gradient. Oh, it almost reminded me of like a PowerPoint presentation gradient background. You know what I'm talking about, where it's like the two colors blending into each other. And all it said was free the trappers. That's all it said. And it was an advertisement for a dispensary. I was like, yo, it is really opening up right now.
It is. I thought that the other day, actually. I was like, I have seen a lot of cannabis billboards lately, and it's shocking. I'm like, wow, we must be like just really like, for it over here, which is great, but more and more just keep popping up.
Oh yeah.
Even with
they might be risking it for the biscuit. I don't know if there's any sort of regulations in place yet, but I'm sure as more people complain, something something will go down, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
No, you're absolutely right, because there is restrictions. Like there's certain words and certain images that you still can't have on billboards, which is why they're resulting in these like crazy, slogans or whatever, because they're like, okay, we just need to get somebody's attention to look at this and understand what we're doing it for.
Totally. It was like there's this one, the Hyperwolf. I didn't even know that it was I didn't even know what it was for a while. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they're everywhere off the 91 freeway, 5 freeway. I know I'm speaking a foreign language probably right now, Ariana, talking about LA,
no worries.
LA freeways. LA freeways. Yeah, it just says Hyperwolf. It's in bright yellow, and it kind of has like a bold black font. And I'm like, what is this? I see these billboards everywhere. And then I Google it, and it's a delivery service, like a really tech delivery service. I had no idea. Super discreet. So yeah, obviously they're facing some sort of regulations, because I feel like if you're a cannabis delivery, you would want to let people know, like, hey, we are a cannabis delivery, not just something called just Hyperwolf. Like, what is that?
I guess if you know right now.
I guess so. Yeah, I thought it was like a massage gun. Like that's what it reminded me of, like Hyperwolf.
That's the Theragun vibe. Yeah,
I was like, it's
feel
big
that
right now.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's interesting. The dispensary and delivery services, just how that even happened. Thinking from Montana's perspective, just watching states make it an essential service. Like, whoa, what a crazy ride.
No, definitely, and it's crazy because things definitely picked up over the pandemic as well.
Yes, that's what I heard. Business was booming on the foot market. That's amazing.
Oh yes, yeah, and I would imagine I could see the pandemic actually being a positive for a platform like the WeedTube too. People probably have the time that maybe they didn't have before to kind of like browse around and find out more.
I started Betty Blaze.
Yeah, I do feel like a lot of people came to the WeedTube, just searching for that connection, and that's really what I was just trying to facilitate throughout the pandemic.
Totally, the WeedTube gave it to me.
Yeah, that's really what everyone needed.
Honestly.
Yeah. No, it was what I needed. I didn't know it, but that was my launching off point.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
that's right. You launched in November, right, Betty?
Yes. Yep, I launched in November, and then I took on Instagram in January. But I was only WeedTube for a while there. I loved it. I loved making the videos. I still do. I'm like, what am I talking about?
I know. It's just, long form content. Sometimes it's different. It's different than that quick interaction you could have on some of these other platforms. But I really love it because I can get in depth with it, and then I know the people that are there engaging with me are like truly there for me to watch my journey, to see what's going on. I really appreciate and value that, because I'm one for that shared energy space, and I think that's so important as we navigate this like new, quote unquote, new industry, but new to just like so many other people that are coming in. We learn new things about the plant every single day, and it's really hard because everyone wants to feel like an expert in some ways, but there's just so much to know still.
We're all learning still.
We're going to continue to learn too. We're really at the tip of the iceberg, the proverbial tip of the iceberg. But we're excited. We're excited to see the future of cannabis marketing, the future of cannabis content.
The future of the WeedTube.
The future of the WeedTube. And honestly, thank you for all your insight today, Ariana. It's been great.
No, it has. I've been really excited to talk to the WeedTube too, just because I've been like, I know you guys feel like on a personal level, because like that is my community too. So this has been really nice to kind of get the lowdown on everything.
Yes, Betty. Wait, shout out Betty. What's your WeedTube channel? Everyone go follow.
Betty Blazed.
Ariana, I was going to tell you too, like if you want to throw out anything that's, coming up with the WeedTube, you want people to get excited for, and then also throw out like your socials too. I know you have videos going up.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, WeedTube has got a lot coming. They're just now starting to launch some of the updates that they've been working on. So keep your eye out on that. We're going to be asking the community to help with like large testing groups and things like that. So that'll be kind of a fun way to bring people together and also ensure that we're not missing anything along the way. So we're excited. But yeah, definitely follow WeedTube on all of their different social medias, WeedTube on Instagram, WeedTube app on Twitter. They try to keep everyone updated through some of those other social medias as well. But, they're shadow banned just as much as the rest of the cannabis industry.
Sure.
So yeah, that's all WeedTube stuff. And you can find me on WeedTube. I'm at provisional_air. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Ariana. We appreciate you, and thank you for giving us your time today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. This has been so much fun. I love diving into some of the marketing stuff of it. It's cannabis marketing is such an interesting area. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for just opening up on your end too.
We really feel like we do have the urgency to get the word out, as everything seems to be progressing pretty quickly here.
Exactly.
It is. Oh my gosh, it's so fast, which is, yeah, I appreciate you guys letting us dive into Canna for Climate a little bit too, because I hope that platform can kind of help that part of the industry as they're feeding into whatever the future of cannabis is going to be.
Totally. Is there something that we could go follow the Canna for Climate on, or is there a separate Instagram or something?
That's separate, yeah. So you can obviously just go to canna4climate.com. And then on all social media handles, they're at Canna and then the 4 Climate.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Yay.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're
Of
welcome.
course.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Have a good day, Ariana. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys as well. Bye.
Bye, Ariana. We'll talk to you later. Thanks again for tuning into this week's episode of the Cannifornian Podcast. Special thank you to Ariana from the WeedTube for joining us and getting into some great conversation for all of you. I hope that you enjoyed listening to the WeedTube story and take some time to go check them out. Don't forget to follow us on our social media at The Cannifornian and listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. The Cannifornian Podcast is brought to you by the Southern California News Group and Bay Area News Group. Our teams have come together to create the best content focusing on the cannabis and CBD industries and culture. We have developed various channels where we distribute content and offer cannabis and CBD advertising solutions. If you or your business would like to advertise with the Cannifornian, please contact us at info@thecannifornian.com. The views expressed by guests on this podcast are their own, and no endorsement is implied by their appearance. Views expressed by podcast employees are those of the employee and do not necessarily reflect the view of the Cannifornian, its parent company, or its affiliates.